Welcome back to the Mike and Andrew Show. I'm Andrew Serwick here again with Mike Meredith. Mike, it's your last episode as a full time. Being on the show. You'll be back for sure, but yeah, we got a lot to get to today. But obviously, it is your last full time episode here. But how you doing it this evening, man?
I'm doing good, man. Yeah, it's been a long ride. I mean, we've been doing the podcast for it's got to be coming up on a year pretty soon.
Yeah, it'll be almost a year. It'll be about a year in August. So yeah, been about 10 months, man.
Yes, sir. It's been good, man. It's been good, but like I said, I just got some other things going on. It's been kind of tough to get the podcast going, and I'm glad that Ian's able to step up and you guys can keep rolling with it, man.
Yeah, we got some things in store for sure for us, um, coming up here very soon. Um, but let's get into it because we got quite a bit to get into today. Obviously, first thing we're gonna touch on is the Florida Panthers, and then gonna talk both NBA and NHL drafts. So let's get into it here with the Florida Panthers winning the Stanley Cup. Um, First, I want to give credit to Edmonton. They took it to Game 7. They were down 3-0 in the series. Not looking good. They could not figure out um, Bobrovsky at all. And, they finally, they won Game 5, and it kind of looked like Florida wasn't really trying in Game 5. Maybe they wanted to win it at home. But or in Game 4, I should say. And then Game 5, just Florida couldn't get anything done. The power play looked awful. Edmonton, two shorthanded goals to open up the scoring in two games, both in Game 4 and Game 5. Just Florida looked like a mess. They started playing on their heels a bit more. But then Game 7, man, Florida was just in control. They were wearing down Edmonton, and they shut down McDavid in this series. McDavid did not have many points in those last two games. In fact, McDavid didn't have any points in Game 6 or Game 7, and he kind of choked it away because he was staring at a wide open net because Bobrovsky was down on his back outside of the goal. He had the puck on his stick right outside of the crease, and he just fumbled it and just lost it, sent it wide to the corner, and no score. And that was a goal that could have gone in and tied the game up in Game 7. And he just choked it. He really, really did choke it in the biggest moment, probably of his career at this point. But gotta give full credit to Edmonton. They were able to really claw this series back and actually make it a series. They made Florida look bad in Games 5 and Game 6, but Florida just dominant in Game 7. And Paul Maurice, he finally gets it done. 30 years in the NHL as a head coach, finally gets his Stanley Cup. It was a sweet moment seeing him finally lift the cup. And he stays perfect in Game Sevens with that win. Barkov obviously led this team. He did a great job. In fact, he actually won the Selke trophy tonight. So congrats to him on that. McDavid won the Conn Smythe, best player in the playoffs. I mean, he clearly was. I mean, I think he's now third all time for points in a postseason, or in a single postseason. So, yeah, just he didn't come out to accept the trophy, which I mean that's understandable. Given that moment, no captain should leave his team in a moment like that when you just lost the Stanley Cup. So it's completely understandable why he didn't come out to accept that trophy. But man, what a run by Florida, man! Just absolutely tough team, and man, they just looked so good, and I think they're starting to build the dynasty there in Florida.
Yeah, it was nice. I picked Florida at the start of the series, but I mean, I'm not gonna lie. When a team comes back down 3-0 and brings it to Game 7, you got to be rooting for the team that brought it back. I mean, I was rooting for Edmonton in Game 7 just because history could be made, but it was a good game. I watched the entire game. Um, yeah, Florida scored the first goal, and then Edmonton came back down, scored rather quickly to tie it, but then Sam Reinhart got the game deciding goal pretty much in the think it was the second period. I don't think there was a single goal scored in the third period.
Yeah, there was not a
Edmonton
goal
was
scored there in that third
trying.
period.
Yeah, Edmonton was trying, man. They tried all the way up until the end. I think they pulled their goalie a little bit too late, but I mean, it was kind of tough. They couldn't really get the puck over in their zone, in Florida zone, to kind of pull the goalie out to get that extra man on the ice. But yeah, it was good, man. Yeah, so McDavid's the second player I think ever to win the Conn Smythe on the non-title team.
That is correct.
The other guy
Yes.
was yeah. Who was the other guy? It was John. It was that goalie, right?
Yeah, I
From
can't
like 2000.
I can't remember.
Grigori,
Ah,
Grigori.
Gregor. Fuck, I can't even fucking remember. But I know who you're
Yeah.
talking about.
He was,
Gorgiev or
yeah.
something like that. Yeah. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. He was the other one. He went crazy too in the playoffs, but yeah, McDavid went crazy. Draisaitl was kind of disappointing in the series. I mean, he had some decent moments, but it seemed like he could have been doing better. Um, I know the moment you're talking about with McDavid. I didn't realize live that it was that bad of a fumble. Like I know he was in front of the net and Broski was kind of down, but um, yeah, just tough breaks and I do think that Florida was better in that game. I just think Florida was a little bit more tough. They kind of got screwed on one play where they called I think it was Kachuk for tripping. Um, I think it was Kachuk. Might have been someone else, but Florida got called for tripping when it was not tripping. It was a pretty bad call, but didn't affect them in the end. Florida wins though. See if they can continue to keep building on it, and uh, we'll see what they do moving forward.
yeah, it was very interesting. And there's a lot of coaching problems that I had in the third period that Edmonton have. Knobloch, I don't know what he was thinking. So McDavid played 3 minutes and 30 seconds of the last 4 minutes of that third period. He was gassed, and Draisaitl was the same thing, and so was Hyman and Bouchard. They all played north of 3 minutes of the last 4 minutes of that third period, and Knobloch kept them out there, and that's why they were having trouble, and that's why they couldn't pull Stu Skinner earlier than they did, because they could not keep the puck in the Florida zone because they just kept because they were so tired, they just couldn't keep control of the puck, and Florida just kept
Yeah,
sending it down, and
they
eventually,
definitely did look gas.
yeah, I
They
mean,
did.
they looked extremely tired. I don't know what Knobloch was thinking because you got to pull those guys at some point. I know you want to have your best guys out there, and he had his best guys out there, but to have them play 3+ minutes of the last 4 minutes of a period, it's not good coaching practice at all. Hockey is an extremely tiring sport, and you can't be doing that. Even though, yes, the Stanley Cup is on the line, but man, you got to do something else. I know you don't have a whole lot of depth outside of outside of those four players, but you got to give these guys a break. Throw your second line out there. I mean, it's something. It was just ridiculous. And what you said about Draisaitl too in this series, he was invisible. I mean, this entire series, he didn't really do a whole lot. I think he only had like 4 points in the entire series, maybe less than that. Um, he had a really good game six, and even though he didn't score a point in that game, he was playing well. But the other 6 games in the series, he did not play well at all, and it was just weird. It was a very terrible series for Draisaitl when they needed him most, and Edmonton was able to use some of that depth that they lack it, but especially compared to like a team like Florida, but they were getting Janmark stepped up in this series, Brown stepped up in this series, so it was it was very interesting, to see what transpired with Edmonton here. But yeah, kind of just a collapse in that third period, and I think a lot of it really has to do with coaching. Um, but yeah, no, Florida, great season, great team. Gets the first cup in franchise history, their third cup appearance, and and now we can also say Roberto Luongo is a Stanley Cup champion because he's part of that front office there in Florida. So he finally gets his cup, which is
Yeah.
very very nice to see. He never won one as a player. Wish he would have, man, because he absolutely deserves it. But yeah, he gets his cup. And yeah, just a great season from Florida. Paul Maurice, masterclass in the playoffs in general, but kind of looked a little sketchy at times in this finals when they had opportunities to put it away before Game 7. But Game 7, he coached a great game, and yeah, Florida definitely starting to build something here. But Edmonton's going to be back next year. I think Edmonton is going to be scary good unless Ken Holland does Ken Holland things. And we, as Detroit fans, know what kind of shit Ken Holland can do, and it's not good.
No. Yeah, for real. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens next year. A lot of promise from both of these teams.
Yeah, a lot of promise. But sticking with the NHL, let's talk some NHL draft. The draft is tomorrow night. Well, round 1 is tomorrow night, and then round 2 is all day. Or rounds 2 through 7 is all day Saturday, starting at like 11 a.m. So yeah, let's get into it here. San Jose, they got the number 1 pick. They actually made a move today to move up from, I think it was 14 to pick 11. So they have 2 picks in the top 11 now. So they're going to take Macklin Celebrini as number 1. I know you don't do a whole lot of watching the prospects like I do for the NHL, but I mean this kid is really really good. San Jose is really really lucky because he's very familiar with the area. I think his dad is part of the front office for the Golden State Warriors, so he's very very familiar with the Bay Area. So that's a big win already for San Jose. On top of the fact that he's a great two-way player, he's not that flashy, Bedard type of player who's, who can put up a really really high amount of points, and doesn't play great defense. He's very good on both ends of the ice. I think he's better metrically defensively than Bedard is, but yeah, San Jose looking really good here. Picks 1 and 11 now instead of, it was either 13 or 14 that they had. So yeah, your thoughts first on just San Jose, I guess.
Yes, sir. I'm glad they got the first pick. Been long overdue. And yeah, I think that it's gonna bode well for them, man. Yeah, trading up. I mean, take 2 guys that are gonna change your franchise around.
Yeah, Celebrini, I mean, he's NHL ready. Who they take at 11 probably isn't going to be. But San Jose, they need to keep building up draft capital. This move up to 11, it did cost them a little bit because San Jose has no farm system right now. They have no top 100 prospects. They don't really have a whole lot of picks. They need to start building up more draft capital. They made a move with Detroit. They took a second-round pick from Detroit, which Detroit took from Nashville, which Nashville took from Tampa. So they took Jake Wallman from Detroit as well because, I mean, fuck's sake, I mean, San Jose needs a lot of picks, man. And who they take at 11 is going to be interesting. I think if I'm Gruyere, I'm gonna sign, or I'm gonna draft the best available defenseman at that point. You could see him go forward as well, but you don't have a lot of prospects for both defensemen and forwards if in San Jose right now. So I would take the best available defenseman personally if I'm Gruyere. But he could go either way. If Yzerman is there, yeah, I would take him. But I think Yzerman is probably gonna go somewhere around that 8th to 9th overall pick. He's a great offensive forward. This kid, it's Yzerman. It's Eiserman. So it's not Yzerman. He's not Steve Yzerman. But yeah. And now, so I want to just kind of go over a couple prospects here before we go over into the NBA draft because I think it's going to be very interesting, this NHL draft. There's a guy from Michigan State, defenseman Artem Leshuvnov. Um, I've heard a lot of rumors circulating that he might go number 2 to Chicago this year. Um, he's a surefire top 5 pick. He's a great defenseman. Played for MSU. He was a big reason why MSU was as good as they were this year. Um, but man, I would like to see Chicago take him just because he is good. He's a big dude. He's I honestly think he's NHL ready, but Chicago might let him play a year in the AHL before they bring him on because you know he definitely could use a little bit of work to get into the pros. So maybe you could see him play the last half of the season. But I think he really is the best NHL ready defenseman in this draft. Um, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Columbus, they have the 3rd pick. I I'm very curious to see what they do. We know they're one of those perpetually bad, teams. I mean, they had that one run where they swept Tampa in the first round of the playoffs and then died that in the second round. But it's going to be very, very interesting this draft, and I'm going to be excited tomorrow. And then let's talk Detroit real quick before we get out of here, or before we go over to the NBA draft. They have the 15th pick this year. If I'm Steve Yzerman, I'm trying to make a splash this year. I'm either moving up or I'm picking at 15. I am not moving down if I'm Steve Yzerman. But if I'm Steve Yzerman, I'm trying to move myself in the top 10. It's going to cost us a lot, but I think it'd be worth it if we can dump some guys off, like maybe Justin Hall, onto some other teams and just give them a whole bunch of draft capital that we don't really need anymore. Because free agency for the NHL also starts on July 1st. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens there. But that said, what do you want Detroit to do here? I guess is my biggest question. Move up, stay at 15, and then just position wise, what do you want to see Steve Yzerman do?
I'd always love to see him move up, man. I think there's a lot of different ways they could go. I honestly don't really have a preference if they go forward, defenseman. Uh, I don't think there's a top goalie that's going to be this high. Um, but yeah, I think that whoever they take, just make sure it's someone worthy of taking at that spot.
Yeah, if I'm Steve Yzerman personally, I'm moving up to number 8, number 9, and if he's available, drafting Yzerman, we could definitely use that forward help, a guy who can probably put up 40 goals in the NHL once he's fully developed. I mean, he had a great year in the minors this year offensively. He has a lot of he needs to work. He needs a lot of work defensively, and I think that the Wings can definitely develop that because the Wings have developed a lot of really good forwards into good defensive forwards, and well, I should say into good two-way forwards. So I would like to see Yzerman make that move. I doubt it. I think he's probably going to just stay at 15. I would love to see him move up into the top 10 and take Yzerman. However, I've heard some things. Maybe Yzerman will drop down, but I really, really doubt that. But yeah, I'd like to see Steve move up. And yeah, this draft class isn't super deep like we've seen in the past few years, especially last year's draft. Last year's draft was really, really deep. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens tomorrow night and over the weekend, I guess. And then yeah, next Tuesday we get into free agency, and Ian and I will be talking all about that on Tuesday because that's going to be a huge, huge day for the NHL. But now let's get over into the NBA. We had the first round yesterday. Second round was today. So I'm going to let you take it over from here, man.
Yes, sir. So, NBA draft. This was the weakest draft in a very, very long time. This is probably very comparable to the 2013 draft, where just didn't know who was going to go number one. There wasn't really a standout top few guys. Just a very, very mixed draft, but I'm going to go through some of the notable picks here. So, the Atlanta Hawks had the number one pick in this draft, and they took Zachary Richechet. He's a French guy who played on the French team, and like Victor Wembanyama, who was the number one pick last year, he was also from France. So this guy, though, it's pretty sad. His comparison, his NBA comparison, is Harrison Barnes, who is like an average role player for the number one pick. That's not good.
Tells you just how
Maybe
deep this draft is.
yeah, the number one pick in this draft is compared to a NBA role player. So yeah, it's tough, but hopefully he can develop. I mean, if he does, I mean, he can be great. It's just again, it's so tough to predict with him. He's a boomer bust in my opinion. This guy, he could be very very good, or he could just be all right. I just don't see too much upside though with him. I think I would have took who they should have took, who went number two, Alex Sarr. So Alex Sarr is also from France and also a crazy player. He's a 7'1" guy who can handle the ball, shoot.
Holy shit.
Yeah, play defense.
7 foot
Uh,
one.
7'1". There was his NBA comparisons are like Chet Holmgren, Kristaps Porzingis. He has a lot of potential. He could be really good. I think Alex Sarr was the best player in the draft. People were saying for months he was going to go number one, but then Zachary Richechet started coming up, and he became the number one guy. But Alex Sarr, I think, undoubtedly is the best prospect in the entire draft. And the Wizards, they needed something to turn the franchise around, and if he pans out, he can be great. But again, he's going to Washington. It's going to be rough. Um,
Yeah, being drafted by that franchise is it's kind of just like or at least how it used to be. It's kind of like being drafted by the Browns. Like no one wants to go
yeah,
there.
yeah, no one wants to go there for real. But yeah, then number three, the Houston Rockets. They took Reed Shepard. Reed Shepard's like the best shooter in this draft, so I don't know if Reed Shepard really has that much upside. I could see him being like maybe a better Austin Reeves, like really good spot up shooter who could do some things. But again, this is the number three pick in the draft. That just shows you how weak this class is. Uh, just not really that great. Number four is someone who was rumored to go to the Pistons, so he got taken one pick before. It's Stephon Castle. I think he'll fit well in San Antonio. He's a great defender. He can shoot a little bit. Really good college career. Went to UConn, won a national title there. So I think Stephon Castle will be pretty solid. Then the Pistons pick here, and we had a lot of different options. They were saying during the draft that Memphis was looking at moving up and going to number five, and they had the pick at number nine. And I honestly think that we could have traded back to nine and still got this guy who we got at number five. We got Ron Holland. He's from the G League, so the G League is basically like the, I guess, minor leagues or like the development league of the NBA. Like, so if you don't want to go to college or play overseas, you can play in the G League before. You have to play at least 1 year before. And we took Ron Holland. He's basically like Asar Thompson. He's a very good defender, very very good defender. He's probably one of the better defenders in the draft, but he can't shoot. He's shooting like 25% on threes, and we need offense, man. Like Pistons really need a little bit of everything, but to draft someone with very little offensive potential, like yeah, Ron Holland will be a great role player, but Pistons don't need role players right now. Right now, we need a star player. Like our team needs desperate help. Role player is not going to do anything for us. So
Personally, I don't actually mind the pick because
yeah,
my thing is I think Ron Holland might be the best defensive player in this draft,
I do too.
and
Yeah,
I
him
I
or
think
Stephon Castle.
I think that'll help the Pistons. I really do. I don't think he'll be a starter, but I think he'll be a great defensive role player, and maybe you can develop him into a shooter. But
Yeah.
man, I don't know. But I like the pick personally. I know a lot of people hated this pick, and understandably so because he can't shoot. But maybe we can develop that. I don't know. but I mean, I doubt it because the Pistons have yet to develop a shooter. But that said, I think I like the pick. It's going to help us defensively, and I think the Pistons really could use some help defensively, and he's going to help that.
Yes, sir. So yeah, we'll go through the next four picks that were pretty notable. We'll go through six and through nine. So Tejane Salon, another player from France. He's more of again a raw prospect. I think Sar and Ricochet are a little bit more developed, but Ricochet again, as I say, is a lot more boom or bust. Um, Salon is very raw. It kind of reminds me of Bilal Coulibaly from last year's draft, where just uh, he's very developmental. Like he could be incredible. Like he has the skill set and the body to be a crazy good NBA player, but just have to see if his potential kind of pans out. Number seven, the Trailblazers took Donovan Clingan. I love Donovan Clingan. He was one of my favorite players in college. I'm not sure how well his game will translate to the NBA. I mean, he is a 7'2" center. Uh, the Blazers, though, they are loaded with centers. They have DeAndre in, who is there, and Jeremy Grant at power forward. So they got some. They definitely got some big guys. I don't know what they're going to do with Aiden. Probably move off of Aiden if they can. That contract is pretty crazy, though. I'm not sure he's going to want to take that on. But I like Donovan Clingan. I was shocked that they were saying that Portland was going to take a center because we'll get to Memphis here pretty soon. But Memphis really needed a center, and I thought Memphis was going to trade up. Yeah, what they said with Detroit, with Charlotte at 6, and they just couldn't get a deal done. Number 8 was interesting. Rob Dillingham, who me and my roommate were talking about how Rob Dillingham might be the best player in the draft. Like if it wasn't Alex Sarr, Rob Dillingham is just crazy offensive scorer. Um, this guy can just get you a bucket, man. He is great. And the Spurs drafted him and we were like, oh man, like that's gonna be great. Him and Wembanyama, and you got Stephon Castle, who's a great role player. I was like, the Spurs definitely won this draft, and then it came out that the Timberwolves traded for Rob Dillingham, so he's not going to the Spurs. He's going to the Timberwolves. So the Timberwolves gave up. It was like a 2031 first round pick, and then I think a second round pick. So I guess they want to try and stockpile picks for later. I guess it makes sense because Wembanyama's still so young, but you got to get this team together here pretty soon because he'll be off his rookie deal and a few more seasons. I think his rookie deals are 4 or 5 years, so pretty soon he's gonna have to get. They're gonna have to get a good team going. But yeah, big W for Minnesota getting Rob Dillingham. And then number 9, the biggest reach of the draft, Zach Edey, man. Zach Edey from Purdue. I mean, yeah, he's big. He's 7'4". People were saying that he was the college basketball player of the year, but his game, like a lot of those guys who are national players of the year, sometimes their game just doesn't translate to the NBA. We'll see how Zach Edey does. He's just a big body. I mean, he doesn't really have the craziest skill set, and he's not really a perimeter shooter at all, and he can't handle the ball. Basically, he's just going to post up anyone and try and get buckets. I mean, he's been compared to Zubac, who's a backup center on the Clippers, and there was rumors that he was going to go like maybe between 15 and 20 in this draft, and he went all the way up to 9 because Memphis needed a center so bad. He was the best available center at that time, so they reach on Zach Edey and they get him at 9, but definitely a reach for sure. Some other notable picks I'll go through in the first round here. Buzelis, who went number 11 to the Bulls. He's a very good prospect. I think, at points in this draft, I think he was definitely rumored to go top 10. Nikola Topic to the Thunder. Thunder again, that's a solid pick. And Thunder again using those draft picks. Jared McCain going 16th to the 76ers. He's another one that was one of the top prospects. And then the steal of the draft for sure is Dalton Connect at 17. I mean, again, a guy who was rumored to go borderline top 10 falling to 17. that's a huge pickup for the Lakers right there. And we'll go over who the Lakers took in the second round.
Yeah, we're gonna need to go over that one.
Yeah. So I mean, other than that, not any more crazy ones in the first round. Again, who knows? Maybe there'll be a hidden gem in there. There always seems to be between picks 20 and 30 at the time. They don't seem like anything crazy, but one of those guys will pan out to either a pretty good role player or a star. Some of them will be busts. We'll just have to see.
Yeah,
And then the
and
second
then
round.
that's the thing with the draft in general for any sport is it is a lottery ticket, right? You don't know what these
Mhm.
guys are gonna be at the NBA, NFL, NHL, MLB level. Whenever you draft a player, you don't know what they are going to be. But that said, it's just a lottery, and there's definitely going to be a star or two come out of this draft class. It's almost certain. There's always a star that comes out of every draft class in every sport, and you also see a lot of busts from first rounds. You see a lot of guys that just play the role that they're expected to as well. So I mean, it is always a lottery. It's always kind of just a guess, and that's what you're hoping for. Um, but yeah, very interesting first round for sure. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what comes out of this class.
Yes, sir. So we'll go into the second round here. So the NBA posted this, but it has the original teams that took them. But I do know about some of the ones in the second round. First round definitely knew a little bit more on the trades, like the Rob Dillingham trade. That happened live during the draft. So even though it shows Spurs here, I knew that he got traded to the Timberwolves. But yeah, we'll go through here some of the notable ones in the second round. There's really just three that I want to go over. So Kyle Filipowski from Duke fell to 32. Now he has a very interesting story. I don't know if you've heard the story, but like there was rumors that like he was being groomed like by this older woman who, I guess there was something going on with that where it was causing problems with relationships in his family and stuff. And then he also didn't really do good in like the interview process and combine stuff. So he fell in the draft. He was supposed to be first round for sure. He was supposed to be probably around that like top 15 ish, 20, and he fell to 32. So probably the best prospect that got drafted in the second round. Then the Pistons ended up trading up to pick 37. They took Bobby Clintman. He is a bucket getter, which I guess is good because we took Ron Holland, who is basically the complete opposite of that. Someone's just going to stand there and uh, maybe give you a little bit on offense, but mainly play defense. Bobby Clintman could be a solid scorer for us off the bench. Marcus Sasser was great for us as well. Um, you know, Bobby, he went to Wake Forest, so we'll see how that goes. Again, we'll see if he can translate. And then number 55, Ronnie James to the Lakers. So, yeah, I more rumors started coming out closer to the draft that no team was interested in Bronny. It was only going to be the Lakers if he gets drafted at 55. So they picked him. You know, it is what it is. He goes to the Lakers with LeBron. LeBron James Jr. is coming to the league.
Yeah, riding the bench while Dad plays. That LeBron,
Yeah.
you're gonna get maybe like 2 minutes a night with your son. You're like your son is trash. I'm sorry. He should not be in this
Yeah.
draft class. He's averaging 5 points a game in college. That is fucking awful. In fact, I don't think he was even a starter at USC this year.
No,
Just
yeah.
fucking
He,
waste of a pick for the Lakers.
yeah. I mean, to be fair, it's the 55th pick of the 60 in the draft. So if he doesn't pan out, like if you go back through draft classes, I mean, it's so rare to have a second round pick hit. So I guess it's all right. I mean, I'm just yeah. If they would have wasted like pick 17 on Bronny when they got someone like Dalton Connect, who's just an actual good NBA player, like that could be someone who's good. Like at least the Lakers, it's a second round pick. If it doesn't pan out, it's like whatever. But um, yeah, they said too it's gonna be the first time a father and son duo have played on the same team in the NBA in NBA history. It's never happened before. Because LeBron is doing things that no one's done. Like, you know, players don't play until their 22nd season. You know, it's just not a thing that happens. So uh, to see this happen, it's gonna be interesting. But like you kind of mentioned, man, it's like even if he does make the team and make the squad, he's not gonna get minutes. He's gonna get maybe 5 minutes at the end of the games. I mean, yeah, he could work his way up if he somehow develops and moves his way on the team, but I don't think he's gonna get a free pass. Like LeBron's, even though LeBron basically owns that team, I don't think he's gonna be like, yeah, my son's gonna get 20 minutes a night, like, and you guys are gonna have to deal with it. Nah, he's gonna have to earn it, man.
Yeah, no, there's no way he's gonna be a starter, and I think LeBron literally is running that franchise. I think I don't think anyone else is running that franchise. I think they said, "Yep." I think he said, "Yep, you're taking my son," and then we're gonna see him, basically force the coach to play him just so he can actually play with his son, and watch him fucking miss a three by 10 feet, shooting it wide, and it's just gonna be what it is. But it's he has way too much control over that team. He really, really does. But LeBron is doing some crazy stuff, playing his 22nd season now, man. That's nuts.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I mean, and he could keep going, man. Like, there's no rumors that this is his last season coming up. Like, he could play. You know, I would love to see LeBron do it because I don't know if it's ever going to be done again in NBA. If he gets to 25, if he gets to 25 seasons, it would be insane. Like he played a quarter of a decade in the NBA. He'll probably have records that may never be broken. I mean, he's already the scoring champion, uh, so he's already got 40,000 points all time. He's he could, like I said, put records up there that may never ever be touched. And I mean, that's what we got at this point in LeBron's career. It's tough for him to win another championship. So right now, his case for the GOAT conversation is just keep filling up the stat sheets and keep building more on your record and your resume because that's basically all you can do right now to try and sway more people over. Looking back in 10 years, like LeBron's got 45,000 points, and the next highest has like 38,000. Jordan only got to 33,000.
He's stat padding. He's stat padding.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's stat padding at this
it's
point. Yep.
it's to me it's like his career should have been over already. Just given the fact that he's already this old. He's been in the league for now about to be 22 years, and to me it's kind of like Miguel Cabrera in a way where he was just stat padding since 2016, just to get
Yeah,
himself to
with the
3,000 hits,
yeah, and the
um,
500 home
and
runs. Yeah.
500 home runs. Like he wasn't like he should have like Miguel Cabrera should have retired in 2016. If I'm being completely honest with you, just based on his health for one, and then just like he was not good anymore, and he just kept getting worse every year. And LeBron, I mean, he's still playing well. He's just not playing nearly as good as he used to, and he's just getting worse every year as well, statistically. So it's just stat padding. I get it, but man, I don't look at any of the years where it's like you're just there to stat pad yourself. I don't look at those years as part of your career just because that's what you're trying to do. The record books are going to always say that's how many points you scored. I'm not going to look at it that way. That's just me personally.
I guess the one good thing he does have in his advantage is he's actually not like completely washed. Like, yeah, of course he's not the number one player in the NBA anymore, but he's still arguably a top. I mean, arguably a top 10 player. I mean, probably closer to 9 or 10, but um, he's still putting up crazy numbers on pretty good efficiency. So
Yeah, no, and I'm not saying he's not. I mean, he's still playing at a very high level. It's just he's not near what he was 5 years ago.
no, not even close. Yeah, I mean, uh, yeah, it's just going to be interesting to see. I was looking at the draft grades a little bit. Yeah, they gave the Lakers after the first round. They gave them an A plus. I'm curious to see what they have them at now. I would say of the draft. The best picks probably are Alex Sart at 2, Stefan Castle at 4, Rob Dillingham at 8. Um, you could even throw Donovan Clingan in there at 7, and then Dalton Connect at 17. Some of the reaches, definitely Zachary Richichet at number 1, Reed Shepard at 3, Zach Edey at 9. Uh, Definitely going to be the tough ones. And then, of course, Bronny at 55.
Yeah, Bronny should have been an undrafted free agent. He really should have been. Um, Anyone could have picked him up at that point, but still, I would not have wasted. I mean, I get it. The NBA draft is so weird, where second round picks never really pan out, which is just weird because like every other sport, second round picks pan out all the freaking time. Not the NBA. It's just such a weird sport when it comes to that. But also the NBA only has 2 rounds of the draft, and that's also very weird. Um, but yeah, very interesting draft for sure. I really like the Lakers pick at 17 with Dalton Connect. I mean, that was a brilliant move. Guy who definitely should have, in my opinion, probably should have gone top 10.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the Lakers basically, I think they won the draft with that pick alone. I mean, personally,
Yeah,
just
that was a steal.
for value at the pick, I think they
That,
won the
yeah.
draft.
Yeah, I think most people would agree with that. That for value at that pick, that was the best pick in the entire draft.
Yeah.
And also Kyle Papowski at 32 is a very great value
Yeah,
pick
that's
as well.
that's that's a very very good pick. I almost made a joke earlier that I shouldn't have. Almost said "lucky guy" him, but it's fucked up. I know, but like, come on now. Um, but yeah, that's the NBA draft, man. So Tuesday's episode, we're gonna talk. Ian and I are gonna talk NHL free agency and NHL draft. Kind of just go over the important stuff, I guess, over both days, because free agency is on Tuesday, so there's going to be a lot to go over that day. But Mike, it's your last episode, man. So let's just talk, man, about just
Yes, sir.
favorite moments that you've had on this show or whatever, and then I'm gonna let you close us out for the night, man.
Yes, sir. So, man, favorite moments. I loved, first episode going on, and we started. I mean, I loved doing the NFL season. That was a blast, and I'm not gonna lie. I might have to come back on for some episodes during the NFL season. That was definitely the most fun time I've had on the pod. Like I thought maybe when NBA and NHL started, it would get me, but no, nothing hits like football season, man. It just you always had something to look forward to every week. We had the previews. The Lions were doing crazy. After each and every game, we'd see how that'd go. Yeah, our preseason predictions. Might have to look back on some of those definitely from the earlier first episode or two and see how our predictions held up or do like I know we were doing our hot takes for the season, see how those kind of held up to last year. Um, but yeah, it was fun, man. Definitely enjoyed the NFL the most. NBA was cool too, though. NHL we were going through. MLB we talked a little bit on. Um, Man, I'm trying to think of some wild stories that we got to talk about on here. Um, there was always crazy news going around and all the sports. Yeah, we talked about the Otani and the gambling. That was a huge story that we did on the pod. Um,
The
trying to think.
Michigan cheating scandal.
Yep,
We
the
we had some
Michigan
fun,
cheating
and
scandal.
you know what pisses me off about that is we don't know anything. Like the season ended, and like we've heard nothing from the NCAA about it, like at all.
Yeah. Hmm. For real.
Just so
Um,
weird, man. So weird that we haven't heard anything from that.
uh, But yeah, man, those were some great moments here on the pod. There's probably a ton more of them I'm missing, but
Miggy's
man, even
retirement episode with Ian.
episodes of Ian, man, yeah,
Yes.
we had great episodes with Ian coming on and giving his thoughts. We did a few for the NFL season. Like I said, those were definitely the best times, and uh, just sharing it each and every week, getting out there to each and every single one of you guys. It was really a fun experience, man. I'm glad that I was able to be a part of for 9 or 10 months to actually kind of run a podcast. It's not something that I've done before. But I give credit to Andrew. I mean, he's the one who's doing all the setup and the filming and the editing. So kudos goes to him, man. I mean, he puts a lot of time and effort in here for you guys, preparing everything to make sure everything gets talked about. So again, man, it's gonna be a wild time. I can't wait to listen to you and Ian next week on the pod. And like I said, if there was an episode where a certain thing in the NBA happens or some in the NFL, I'll definitely be open to coming back on the pod, man.
Yeah, we're gonna need you for the start of the NBA season for sure. Probably we'd like to see you for NFL Week 1 at least too, because
Yes,
that would be very very fun. Of course, I mean who doesn't love talking about football the first real week of football of the NFL? Who doesn't love talking football about that? You know. Um,
sir.
but yeah, man. I mean, it's been fun. Just two guys talking about sports, and I mean, we love sports. We talk about it in our group chats, and we talk about it, obviously here, and that's kind of why I wanted to start this podcast. Is just to get our opinions out there and have an audience, listen to our takes and our opinions and our thoughts. But yeah, man, it's been awesome doing it with you. You'll always be welcome back. We'll definitely have you on at some points whenever you're free. Um, yeah, starting next Tuesday, Ian's going to be on full time with me. We're going to talk, like I said, NHL draft and NHL free agency. Mostly NHL free agency because there's not a whole lot in terms of the draft that we're going to talk about unless something big happens over the weekend. But yeah, Mike, have you sign us off since it is your last episode, man?
Sure. All right, guys. Well, stay tuned here for next week's episode with Andrew and Ian. I hope to be on here sometime soon, man. It was, again, great time. And Andrew, we'll see you guys next week. And hopefully, I'll see you guys here soon as well. Take care.